Today, I sit down with Colman Power. Colman is a passionate advocate for organic living, fitness, and self-sufficiency. As the author of The Power of Organic Fitness, Colman has dedicated his life to helping people reconnect with nature, grow their own food, and embrace a healthier, more sustainable lifestyle. In this episode, Colman takes us on his journey from humble beginnings to becoming a leader in organic farming, fitness, and personal development. We explore the importance of growing your own food, the health benefits of organic produce, and how reconnecting with the land can transform your physical and mental well-being. Colman opens up about the challenges he faced in his early life, including dyslexia and navigating personal relationships, and how these experiences shaped his drive and resilience. We also touch on his mission to educate and inspire people to take control of their health, one small step at a time, proving that anyone can live a more vibrant, fulfilling life. So let's dive in. Colman Power, welcome to the Modern Warrior Podcast. An absolute privilege to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, delighted, man. And I have you here because I fucking love where you're at. I love the energy. I love the frequency. I love your passion for health and fitness and well-being and organic farming, of course, and organic gardening. But I also know that to get to this place in your life of positivity and contentment and peace, you have to endure some pain to get to this point. So can you bring us back to the beginning here in terms of your earlier influences which inspired you to become the man you are today?
That's a massive, deep question now today. Just after a bank holiday weekend, it was cool, calm, and collective.
It's ruthless here, man. Yeah.
Absolutely lawless.
You know what you're getting into. Yeah.
How far do you go back? I suppose my own background, just to tell you quickly, I suppose briefly, my mother and father were both psychiatric nurses. I have an older sister and I have a younger brother just after moving back from New York. And as a result of that, my upbringing was fairly clean cut. No, my parents are still together, married like 40 years, great upbringing, hard working. I suppose I emulated my father, who again was working, they both worked opposite shifts, so it would have been 12 hours. Someone was always at home. But even when my father was at home, he was always still constantly working. He's someone who's does chiropody, that's to do with feet. And like I'll never forget actually this one moment where we were at home and we have a big GA background, and myself and my brother were actually playing out, just pucking ball back and forwards. And we said, Dad, you come out literally for whatever amount of minutes you have. Next thing we're 1, 2, 3 popping around. And next thing somebody came and he was like, I have to go. And I just went, you don't have to go. And he said, I do. He went in and I still played on, but it never really left me. It meant he didn't have to work. We weren't ever massively poor, but rich either at the same time. But it was the fact that it was always that work mentality. And I took that, I suppose, and it just sat with me, but didn't realise, I suppose, until very recently that it's ingrained in our family to work hard, to earn a decent crust and to, I suppose, help other people. And that's what he did as a nurse and also with other jobs that he did. And from that, I took that to heart and continued on. And through school, I was never someone who was the best. I always played sports and was, I suppose, below average and skill level. But whatever a skill level I lacked, I was so determined. I had things neatly packed in my bag, boots always cleaned. Well, that came from my father as well, I suppose. Boots cleaned, Vaseline, lick across the front of something. I suppose any muck gathering on it, you might go a little bit faster to get a point or a goal. And that was all through my school days. I was dyslexic by trade. Never really excelled in school, but also didn't make a massive effort. Any bus that was out of school, I was on it. I was on the orienteering team. I was on the hurling, the football, the soccer. and again found it, I actually don't know that I started in any of those teams, but again I would have been at every training session and even joined the chess club just because I knew there was one day out where we got to leave the school for a day. And after that, going to college, I think actually, didn't even tell you that I went to college and in my CAO, my first choice was sports. I didn't get that. Again, it seemed to be always failures. I set a target, didn't make it. Just take the second one and work your hardest at the second. Horticulture was the second one. So people say, oh, was it your dream to always grow and be outside and stuff like that? And I was like, anything that was the opposite to sitting down in front of a desk all day. So pick sports, didn't get sports. Got less than 300 points in Leaving Cert. Did the horticulture in WIT in Waterford. Did that for 3 years. Then I suppose got qualified as with an honours degree in land management it was at the time. And then at home at a meeting, I suppose, with the parents and just asking me the questions of, what are you going to do now? And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a landscaper. My father said, Jesus, don't be a landscaper. You'll be digging your whole life. And my father's a clever fella. So as a result of that, then I said, what am I going to do? And he said, would you do a master's? I said, another year, 5 years on the trot. And someone who really isn't that academic, but would have no problem in, like, if you gave me a task and I wasn't really good at it, I'd find out how to pass it or how to struggle through. And I did, passed it, and I would have been the lowest probably, maybe intelligence, that type of intelligence, because a lot of people know there's different types of intelligence. Like, I'm not academically smart, but like we call it street smart. I'm so street smart, I'd figure out how to do something by either watching someone else or just figuring out by making a mistake and going, that's not how you do it. That's literally, there's much better ways. So I went through the master's degree, qualified in that, and then had the second highest degree in the world, which is a master's degree. Doctorate is the first. And following that, all the time, I suppose, through college, I didn't have, I suppose, much luck with the likes of the women. But again, something I didn't try enough at, and I was just like, okay, not really good at this. I'll just focus in on, hard enough going through college, and I was doing a little bit of, you could say I did a lot of Joe Wicks workouts to keep fit. That's, again, another inspiration I would have took from. Fair play to Joe, like, he's doing a great job over in the UK. Oh, never mind the UK, he's actually doing worldwide. And emulating, I would always try and, I suppose, look at people that are ahead of me, whether it's fitness or business, and try and do something that they're doing, put my spin on it, because there's only one Joe Wicks, there's only one Colman Power, there's only one, whoever you want to name then next after that. And I suppose after college, coming out with the qualifications that I had, I struggled again. You have all this information, and as a result of that, no experience. But the only job I could get was actually a job in Waterford, picking tomatoes in a hydroponics setup. So that's literally, it's not organic, but it's probably very far from organic. Can't be organic anyway. So it's literally kind of, I'm going to say, glass house, gas and heated tunnels. So as a result of that, I was going up one line, throwing tomatoes into a tunnel. We were working with Eastern Europeans who worked twice as fast. I can work fast. I can work very diligently. But the thing was, I couldn't keep up with them. I did that for 6 months. And it was close to 40 degrees in a glass house that was heated, which was starting at 5:30, finishing at 12:30. Yeah. So I got fairly sick of that and decided to emigrate. Got the opportunity to emigrate and went over to Australia, as most people did at my kind of age. I was 20, 23, 24 at the time. And following that, I ended up working on a building site. Absolutely loved it. Outside, sunshine. And parents probably weren't too happy at the time after spending 5 years in college and going out to work on a building site as a labourer. But I couldn't have been happier. I was singing on building sites. People were like, oh my God, Colby, you're the happiest fella in the world. And I was like, sure, I'm literally getting paid $5 an hour to sweep up and clean toilets. They couldn't believe it. They were just like, I asked them, was like, are there any other jobs? And they were like, you cleaned the toilets? I've cleaned the toilets twice this morning. It's already 12 o'clock. What you want me to do? Check the ice buckets. And I was like, done. I was running around doing all these jobs. Like, I'm just a doer. I love to do things. Yeah. I suppose that's kind of spring. 24. We can keep going. So after that, then at the age of, after doing 1 full year in Australia, I said to myself, yeah, I love it out here. I'm after spending, I did my regional work out in a farm out there, and I was like, okay, right. I was ringing home and going, yeah, I kind of got a job in horticulture. I'm like, what are you doing? Horticulture. I was out in a farm, a dairy farm that had 3,000 dairy cows. Like a big herd over here would be 100. 100 would be big. So God, you have a big herd of animals. And it was 3,000, doing like 3 times a day. I won't name the company just in case I get in trouble. After that, I did the regional work and I said I'm going to Thailand and I'll apply for my second year visa for Australia. I spent a period of time out in Thailand. I had a great time, did all the standard things that a 20 to 24-year-old does. Go to all the islands, did all the hopping and the full moon party. Would have been a heavy drinker coming from a GA background and just enjoyed a lot of crack. 20, that's me nearly 25. I end up deciding, do you know what? I'll come home. I wasn't home at Christmas. I spent Christmas on the farm and cooked a lovely meal with all, I suppose, international bagpackers. And I love sharing. Like if I had something that was more edible than, I suppose, an onion or a garlic set in my pocket, I might share it with Gavin. If I had an apple, I mean, there's not too many fellas that'll turn up here today with the likes of either a fruit or vegetable in their pocket. These are my work pants, and actually, I could physically go working right now. If someone asked me to go working, I could go working. I'd have.
So you're always prepared.
I'm always prepared. I'm always ready, and because I love that, I would hate to miss out on something. I would hate, like someone says, "Colman, do you know what? There's a job up here in Dublin. Would you be able to call out to my house and sort it out for me? Or would you be able? I could actually go training right now. I could go for a run. I could go for a swim. I'd have everything on me that I'd ever need. Minimalistic, but absolutely enough on me to do any of those. I'd probably have to switch trainers. I could run barefoot, depending if I was at a beach. And from that anyway, coming back to the story of coming from Australia, of Thailand it was, back to, I'm going to say, Dublin. I came, flew, didn't tell anybody, told absolutely nobody. I was in Chiang Mai. I think it's North Thailand. I flew back, stopped halfway. Maybe it's in like Abu Dhabi. Flew to Dublin. Had €20 in my wallet. Came all the way down and from Dublin on the bus and ended up surprising my brother who was working at he was I'm going to say doing computers at a dentist or something. And I was so cold. I had nothing but shorts. I'd spent the last year in Australia, Thailand for the last month, roasting. Lovely weather. I love the sun. And after that, I was literally outside his car and I saw a woolly hat and I was like, oh my God, I love a woolly hat. I just did it, was grabbing his car and shaking the door. And literally there's someone, I had a big beard, like bigger beard than I had now, but obviously ungroomed. And there was like, Colman or Brian, there's someone trying to rob your car outside. Just like this homeless man. And I had that blanket, you know, from the airport, that one that goes over you. I looked terrible. And my bag on my back, all my possessions. So as a result of that, then my brother came out and gave me a big hug. I love family, I love friends, and that's something that's really important to me. So with all even the work that I do, if my family rang me, there'd be very few people that I'd finish up everything and I'd head away down to help them. So hopped in the car and went home to surprise the mother and the father who were at home. And next thing, my brother went in first, Brian, and as a result of that, they were like, actually ahead of time, Brian rang to say there was someone coming with him. And as every typical mother goes, yeah, that's no problem. But I knew as soon as she hung up the phone, going, how in the name of God in 15 minutes am I going to have a dinner ready for his friend? So yeah. I went in the door second and had the big shawl or whatever, the blanket over my head. And it was through our kitchen. We have a door that has, I suppose, fog glass and you can't really see. You can only see the shadow or the silhouette. And my mum just goes, Brian, did you bring home a girl? He didn't have a girlfriend at the time. And I just opened up and went, surprise. My mother started bawling. My father says, sit down, dinner's ready quick. And that was my introduction back into Irish life. For that day, that evening, there was hurling training on, went up and absolutely freezing, wore a woolly hat underneath my hurling helmet and went training. And the lad says, Jesus, Colman, will you stay this year? We'd have a good chance of winning county. I said, lads, all my bags are back in Australia. But I'll see. When's the next game? Next week. Stayed for the first game. We won. Stayed for the next game. We won. Third game, topped the group. Then into the quarterfinal, won the quarter. Won the semi. Won the Eastern. In Waterford, you have to win the East. Then you have to win the West. We won the county final. Went into Munster. We won the first stage. Went into the quarter. Won the quarter. Won the semi. That's some run in hurling. Like that's some amount of games and training sessions. I had to email back that crowd that I had a job lined up for in literally Sydney, Melbourne. And I said, sorry, there was a family bereavement and I couldn't make it back. And there's only so many excuses you can make up between that period of time.
Running out of family members. Yeah.
I hope family members have been passed away.
They're just dropping like flies here. Yeah.
So as a result of that, then, I went volunteering down in, I'm going to say, I'll never finish that story. We got to the Munster final, we were bet by Mayfield, I'll never forget it. But such a brilliant run, and it was something that I had started doing actually on my first travel alone, really long term in Australia. I started journaling. So I suppose this is the deeper side to Colman, and everyone will think, Jesus, when they ended up listening to this podcast, I thought Colman was just that funny, high energy guy who's a bit like, I suppose, Joe Wicks, a mix between Joe Wicks and the two Happy Pear Boys. Yeah, there's always a deeper level to everyone, I suppose, for that matter. And I ended up staying. I found land that was available down in Cork. I rang my cousins who had my clothes underneath their bed at home. And I said, I'm not coming back to Australia. After setting up camp down in West Cork, it was down in Shannon. It was a greenfield site. There was a wall there. I put 3 pear trees up against the south-facing wall, which people say, you can't really grow pears in Ireland. I grew the best pears you possibly ever could because I put manure on them. I literally sprayed them every spring with the likes of nettles and garlic, which is just here in front of me. Steep that, and 24 hours later is something that's a natural antibiotic for both our gut health as well as the likes of the trees. Applied it to it every year. No pests, no disease, no damage. I had 69 different fruit trees. There was a polytunnel that I set up. I obviously got help with that. There was a veg patch, and I grew every vegetable underneath the sun. But down, I suppose, in that period of time, I worked every day. Every day. Did end in a Y. My birthday, Valentine's Day, Christmas Day, I did waterings, maybe like some sort of maintenance. New Year's Day, the day after New Year's Day, whatever. And so summers were much busier than winters, but I loved working. I loved working, and I did that for a period of 6 years. And during that time, in my spare time, I wrote a book. It's called The Power of Organic Fitness, and that goes through nutrition, because during growing those vegetables, it's hard enough to grow vegetables. Firstly, secondly, it's even harder to sell them to people who don't value them, and food is actually massively undervalued in Ireland and in the world for that matter. Food is medicine, and food can cure you or it can kill you, depending on what you're eating. And that's why I have a massive, I suppose, passion for telling people, like, food produced for 49 cents or food that's sprayed is completely different to something that's grown by a person. There's energy. I'm a massive believer in energy. I'm not massively religious, but I would be somebody who believes in someone who grows something with love and care can nearly pass that on to you in whatever food item it is. And after that period of time I'm going to say, when I was down in Cork, I didn't really spend a lot of time and energy in either relationships. I suppose just focused in on my own setting up of a business and setting up of my own health. And we might talk about a little bit about that later. After that, I suppose I told you that I wrote that book, moved to Kildare after that, finished up in Cork and started educating people, because I wasn't a confident individual. I was someone who, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I struggled to make friends. Everybody knew me, but I wasn't actually best friends with anyone. I wasn't a farmer because my parents didn't have land. I wasn't a GA lad because I couldn't start on the team, or I wasn't really a country lad, or I wasn't a townie. So I was in between everybody. And even when I just remember I'm back now, parents coming home from the parent-teacher meeting were like, who are you hanging around with today? Because obviously it would have been asked, Colman's hanging around with. I used to hang around with the tough guys too. And that would you believe that they kind of helped me? Because, do you know what I mean? You have to stand up for yourself. And I would have been able to, I suppose, stand up for myself, but I wouldn't have been strong, I would have been tall, and I always wanted to be taller. You can't change your height, but you can change how strong you are. And that's why I suppose I went into personal development of training myself, starting off at home workouts and then progressing into the gym. But now the majority of myself and my clients I would train at home. So yeah, I suppose, and after that, I suppose, living in Kildare, I learned to, I suppose, pass on how to grow to people, and the nutritional benefits is what I wrote about in that book. And how I suppose improved on that skill was a period of 2 years, bringing people to a farm, showing them how to sow something from seed, to harvest it, and how to cook it, and then how much energy it can give you for your workouts or your general day to day, whether you have kids or you don't. And that's pretty much bringing you up to the age of 34.
Yeah, wow, that is loaded, and fair play to you, man. That requires a lot of sacrifice, and yeah, you had to endure a lot of difficulties to get to this point, as I've mentioned. But during that period where you were building your business and you were setting up camp and you were writing the book and doing all this good work on the outside, what was happening within you?
That's a really good question. I suppose just going to go back to, I suppose, that relationship point. I didn't really have a whole lot of relationship experience. I didn't have a girlfriend proper girlfriend for any period of time. Up until I was about 23, I had one girlfriend for just a period of 12 months. And from that, I said I really wanted to travel to Australia. And that was my only real relationship. After I came back from Australia, I suppose tried to re-engage in that relationship, but it just couldn't go back to where it was. If you break a mirror, it's hard to, I suppose, put it back together. After that, there was one other relationship that I suppose kind of formed why I did what I did. I had a connection with a girl in college that I had met from the north through equestrian. Again, another activity that I just wanted to do. But
of course,
yeah, fill those days.
Is there anything you haven't done?
I don't know. We can name out a few. So that connection led to, I suppose, me going over to Newcastle, where she was based at the time, and as a result of that, we were going out for a night out. As someone in there, I think I was about 25, maybe 26. I think it was like 25. So we were going out with a night, and we were going out with it was a house party first. Then we went out on the town in Newcastle, and our housemate was there, a couple of friends inclusive of that. And just later on in the night, I just said, right, it's nearly time to go home. Do you know what I mean? It's about 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I just said, has anyone seen Maeve? And someone says, oh yeah, she's with your man Dave in the smoking area. I was like, that's weird. This individual doesn't even smoke. So I just never thought I'd know it. And I probably have this kind of innocent mindset anyway, because I'm just happy-go-lucky. If things happen, that's great. If they don't, move on. So went out to the smoking area, and the two of them were out there. I said, do you want to go home? And she was like, yeah, perfect. And can we all go home together, 3 of us? I was like, yeah, perfect. All just walked out, went down the stairs, and stairs kind of divided in two, as some of those nightclubs do, but still end up at the main exit, front door. And as we went down the stairs, I went left, they went right. And I, obviously, not being from Newcastle, didn't have the home address. She picked me up from the airport. She ended up getting a taxi home. I called her. I text looking for the air code or the address. No answer. This is 3 o'clock. 3:30. This is 4 o'clock. I'm walking the streets, just talking and happy-go-lucky. And it's like, oh no, something probably just happened. Phone might have died. I don't think WhatsApp existed back then, but maybe just never really thought too deep into it. Eventually made it home. It was quite late. It was nearly getting bright at this stage. And got to the front door. Front door's locked. No one answering the door. Eventually her housemate answered the door and said, oh my God, you're way nicer than your man. And I was like, what do you mean? Of course I'm nicer than your man. Whatever. I just went in, exhausted, went up to bed. She wasn't there. I fell asleep, woke up the next morning, and I was kind of pissed. So I was like, what just happened last night? Like, how did I end up coming home on my own? Next thing, I text her, and as a result of that, then she said she didn't want to come up. They were all downstairs. She was cooking breakfast for him. It was her house. And she said, come down. Eventually I came down, and I said, what's the story? Can I talk to you for a minute? She's like, oh no, we're thinking of going somewhere. I was like, where? And she just announced to everyone, we're going to Crazy Golf. I'll tell you, if I didn't ever want to win Crazy Golf in my whole entire life, that was it right there. And we went and played Crazy Golf. My mum was there. And guess who won? I won.
Okay. Your man was still there as well?
Your man was still there. Mum was still there.
Fuck hell, man. How are you feeling in that situation?
Oh, I felt, I suppose looking back at it, I felt terrible, but also okay at the same time. Because I have no problem in putting things aside for a minute to work at something, to win. And I won what I wanted to win.
Well, it was a big fuck you to them, wasn't it?
It certainly was. Oh, and that wasn't even the end of it then, right? So basically I couldn't get an opportunity to get this individual to tell me exactly what happened in her own words, to, I suppose, shoot herself in the foot, if that's what happened. So anyway, long story short, then she had to drop me back to the airport. I didn't want to make a scene. I don't really like making a scene, especially if it's a negative scene. And as a result of that, what happened was, on the way home, I just said in the car as the radio was being played, what happened last night? Where'd you stay? And she said, what? I was so upset when she said what. I was like, I need an answer from you. And I just turned down the radio. And they turned it off completely. And I just said, you heard me. where'd you stay last night? I waited literally 30 seconds. I was like, can't wait for this answer. Can't wait for this answer. And it was, I stayed with him. And I was like, I cannot believe you did that. If the tables were turned and I invited you over to Cork, to my house, brought you out, went off with someone else, literally minutes before we were going to go home together. And as a result of that then, I would be up on Facebook, blackmailed. They'd be on the radio saying, Colman Power, don't ever go near this fella. I just said, don't text me again, don't Snapchat me, don't like my stuff on social media. I don't want to hear from you ever again. She said I was drunk, and I was like, that's no excuse. Don't want to ever hear from me again. That was it.
Well done.
Yeah, had to do it. That's the first time I've ever said that.
But what was the consequence? What were you left with after all this? Because this is incredibly painful for you.
Yeah, I suppose it was painful, and I'll tell you exactly how I felt. I was like, well, that's absolutely fine. I put so much energy into that. Like, just like I do anything, whether it's a 20-minute workout with someone, I put massive energy into it. Whether it's a 15-second reel, I put massive energy into show people whatever it may be I'm trying to emphasize. I just said, let's push all that energy aside and drive it towards what you want right now. I ended up listening to personal development coaches. I started listening to Tony Robbins. I started listening to the likes of everything that I could literally consume off either social media, maybe YouTube's, podcasts, books. And I was like, I'm not even a good reader. So then I would literally I found out like Audible was a massive thing. Downloaded Audible, bought the books, underlined it as it was coming along. That's how I can learn. Everyone just learns differently. And I was like, I'm actually unreal at this now. So I learned all about nutrition. I learned about exercise. I learned about how to grow your own vegetables and how to cook them. Like, I learned pretty much, I would say everything, but in a space of period of time that you can learn in, I suppose, 10 years, I know a fair amount now.
What about learning about yourself? And dealing with this painful rejection and betrayal? Yeah,
it was betrayal, and I suppose it's better to, putting I always put a positive spin on anything. If you shoot something at me, I'll put a positive spin on it and make it turn into therapy.
Hang on a second here. Let's maybe just address the pain or address the negativity, because I think you need to also identify that there is something here that is a struggle or a pain point in your life, and we have a choice to either be used by that pain or use the pain. So be used by the pain is then to play the victim or project this anger and hatred out towards the world, which of course causes more damage. Or you can use the pain and say, okay, this happened, and there's something in me that allowed this to happen. I had a part to play in this. Although, of course, you can look at it and say, she betrayed me, she went off with another guy, she two-timed me, she hurt me. It's like, well, hang on a second now. What was my part to play? How did I allow this to happen? What was the energy in me that attracted this type of person into my life? And how have I come to be in this situation right now? So bring that question back to you in terms of, it's difficult. Like if we reframe negativity and instead see it as taking ownership of pain, what was that pain point and how did you begin to take ownership of it and make changes in your own personal life to then ensure that this was not going to happen again?
Well, I just didn't go into another relationship for about 10 years. That's what I did.
Was it avoidance of going into a relationship because you could potentially get hurt again?
Probably just talking about it now, it probably was. Yeah, without me realizing at the time, I'd be like, all right, that's probably painful. Let's not go anywhere near that. But use all that energy, because there's a huge amount of energy that goes into relationships, as well as we can touch on like sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sex, I suppose the basic, the whole idea more so of sex is it's energy that can create a child.
Yeah.
That's massive.
It's powerful.
Yeah. I didn't sleep with anyone I was like a nun there. And people find it hard to believe, and you can believe what you want. I literally lived the simplest life known to man. I got up at 5:30. I wrote in a book for half an hour. I did a tiny bit of journaling, which took 5 minutes. I then got up and did a workout with someone online. Was trying to set that up. I then worked in a field and grew fruit, sowed seeds, transplanted, watered, harvested, delivered, came back, did more watering, transplanting, hoeing, weeding of a different fruit or vegetable, came down, had something to eat, did that again for another couple of hours, then joined the gym, became qualified as a personal trainer, did personal training at night, did classes at home, 8:30, cook dinner, frying pan, record that, YouTube, upload, and in bed before 10 o'clock and did the same again.
Jesus Christ, I'm fucking exhausted just listening to that.
But I loved it. I mean, and I was like, this is done. Like, I remember being on the phone, I going at 9:30, going, texting all these people back to make sure that you had your workout done, how many steps did you get and all that. And I was like, grand, I already know when I'm going to sow tomorrow, Oriental salads, brassicas, and the likes of kale. Gone. And I slept great. Like,
where was your personal space though? Where was time for Colman here?
Oh, I chose to do that. Like, I wasn't forced to do that.
Well, you're given a lot of your time and energy. So yes, I hear where you're at in terms of energy, and by the sounds of it, and you probably realize this, that you took the energy that you were transferring into this relationship, and then you transferred into your business and helping people and making a more positive impact in the world, which you've done greatly. But there also needs to be energy invested in yourself so you can sustain this growth and progress, and you can put yourself in a situation where you are at a higher frequency that then creates more abundance and more greater impact in your life. Like whatever you do is going to come from you. So was that a sustainable approach? Or is it still, this is possibly still part of your life? Is this a sustainable approach?
Which was sustainable is different for everyone. It's just like saying, you know what I mean? Is a 5K sustainable for someone who's extremely overweight? No, it's not. But is a 5K sustainable? Let's take an example, maybe me and you. We could do a 5K every day. We've loads of people that are even running around the country right now doing 5K every day.
You're doing 5K every hour of every day for this investment? Yeah.
No, why not? Like, and people think, oh God, there must be no time. I'm discussing this now. I have loads of time. But I just choose to multitask and as much as I possibly can because I enjoy it. Because I enjoy what I do. I'm not forced to do the exercise in the morning myself. I'm not forced to go outside. I'm not forced to grow and sow vegetables or teach anybody. I just get massive buzz from that.
I get it.
Because I'm addicted to it. If I wasn't addicted to exercise, growing, or passing on beneficial information, I'd be addicted to something else. I'll tell you that now.
Is that healthy?
The thing that I'm addicted to is.
Is having any addiction healthy?
You'd have to ask someone else. I'm not qualifying that.
So, before we start recording, you give me a brief insight of your morning routine. And I say, okay, here's his morning routine. And my assumption was, his morning routine is now, his routine is peace and solitude and time alone with Colman and his thoughts and his feelings and putting himself in the best possible headspace for the day, for the challenges and circumstances that will arise. Because you have so many demands and you have so many commitments in your life, you have to be in the best position possible to deal with those things. So I said, yeah, this must be his space. But talk me through your morning routine there.
I have an alarm clock that's set, not even for 6 o'clock, it's actually set for 5:59. 5:59. I'm up out of bed before 6. So I'm giving myself that minute. No, but I give myself 60 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So I'm up out of bed after that. And these are things I choose to do. I typically will do some light form of stretching, just as you typically would see an animal. He gets out of bed, or he gets out of a position that he's comfortable in, and he will stretch. That's what I naturally do. Like, it's really important to watch nature, because nature actually, they don't go to school, they just copy someone else. So there's a tip for anybody who wants to be healthy.
Brilliant.
Watch nature. And so I'll do that, kind of a cat-cow kind of a stretch that you call it in yoga. I would get up and do some form of light exercise, whether that's some push-ups or some sit-ups. And then from that, then I would make my way outside barefoot to the grass area, where I then would either listen to a book or a podcast for a timed allocation. It sounds very regimental when you're speaking it out loud. For 10 to 15 minutes. And then after that, then I suppose come back in and drink either some warm beverage with either pink Himalayan salt or something like even just basic hot water. That's what I would drink.
You're smiling as you're talking through this because you know exactly what I'm going to ask you next. Are you waking up and going straight into noise or distraction instead of just being?
I go into work mode after that. After that, if you didn't call work, that work.
Is there any peace or solitude in that morning?
I'm sort of bringing it back to, you're up, stretch, exercise, outside, grounding, but then grounding with podcast. Where does checking in with yourself come in? Where does personal time with Colman come in terms of, okay, where am I at today? What am I feeling? How to put myself in a situation or a mind space of gratitude and abundance or positive energy? Is there something here that's weighing on me that I need to let go of? Is there space for that? Or do you...
Now that we're talking about it out loud, there are a couple of things that I really do enjoy that actually probably are those things you're talking about there. When I'm in the sauna, which I'll probably end up doing today because I've walked this weekend, it gives me a time of 20 minutes that I spend in the sauna. I put on the timer and next to the sauna. You can't bring your phone in.
Yeah.
Typically, the times that I end up going to the sauna, there's either no one there early morning.
Yeah, you hope that you don't meet anyone there, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, shit. I came in here for a bit of peace. I have to talk to this person now. And they're asking me questions.
But I would love that. I would love that.
You'd love that too.
And I love that too. I will end up calling into a gym on the way home in Kildare, and your man goes, Jesus, are you your man? And I'm like, oh, Jesus, yeah. To ask me anything. And I would love having those chats for 20 minutes.
Yeah, of course.
I suppose I do miss out on that then. And then the other opportunity is then an early morning swim.
Nice one.
There's no phone involved when you're in the water. And I try to do at least 5 minutes. At least do, I know I'm from Waterford, but I work a lot, at least once a month, but I could do it like once a week or twice a week, depending on routine of what work is on in that given period of time. So those are the two times that are my own, unless somebody's coming into the gym or the sauna with me, or the sea. I typically do that on my own.
You mentioned the journal a few times.
Yeah, I would do.
Where does that come in?
I try to do that typically, I'm going to say at night, and I also do enjoy travel because on a plane you can't use your phone.
Yeah,
and I typically end up sitting on my own.
Well, you can, but yeah,
I don't choose to. I don't choose to.
Okay.
Yeah, again, because I like those periods of time. I do a little bit of journaling, and my two typical headings are where am I now and what do I want.
Okay,
I like open it up on an A4 page, or on the page where it opens up left and right, so I can see where I am and where I want to be. That's pretty cool.
What's that look like right now? Where are you now?
I'm here with you. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm really good. Physically, personally, mentally, and sometimes family members ask me, "Are you okay?" And that's the whole thing that they're kind of checking in. I'm not a big feelings person.
Why not?
I don't really like sadness. You're asking some really good questions, actually, too.
Yeah.
I don't like sadness because, like, this is my flaw. Like, people think, "Oh, Cole must be perfect." No, there's loads of flaws in me. There's flaws, I suppose, in my physical attributes that I might pick on that other people mightn't see, or there's things that, like, people will listen to this now and go, "That's something seriously wrong with that Colman fella. He can't literally continue to do that routine or do what he does for long term." But
you don't like sadness?
No, I don't. I really don't.
Isn't there time for sadness as much as there's a time for happiness or contentment?
There certainly is, yeah. But I choose to focus in on the positives of nearly every situation as much as I possibly can. Because then the reason for this is because there's so much negativity out there. Yeah. You turn on your phone and you will find, you'll focus on whatever you want to find. And that's very important. People will tell me about the doom and gloom. I don't watch the news. I've never owned a television. I've never followed any half recommendations or recommendations from whoever says you should do something. And it's really important to make up your own choice, whatever it may be. And that's something I really stress, especially in relation to your health. And I choose that because of the people that I've met along the way, the books that I've read, personal development coaches, and that served me very well. So what I've done to now has really helped me. If I chose to wallow in pity parade, Colman, was it awful upsetting that you weren't great in school? Was it awful upsetting that you didn't have that relationship that could have been great, or a different relationship? No. I spent a period of time in a location down in Cork where I learned everything that I found to be beneficial for exercise, nutrition, and growing. And now I teach that to people. If I didn't have that mindset, I wouldn't be here in front of you today, because you wouldn't know who I am, or some of the listeners and the viewers of this podcast wouldn't know me.
Well, there's a difference there. You talk about dwelling in the past, or dwelling in victimhood mentality, or dwelling in sadness. That's different to allowing yourself to maybe feel sad or lonely or depressed or angry or whatever it might be. But then you can feel it, and through the feeling, you can dissolve it, and then you make a conscious choice not to allow that feeling to interfere with the rest of your day, because you say, okay, I'm leaving this behind now, and I'm moving forward with positivity. So is that where you're at in terms, like, do you actually allow yourself to feel it and acknowledge it and say, okay, this is coming up, but I'm choosing not to, this feeling has come up, but I'm not choosing to put any emotion on it, because once you put emotion on it, it transfers into emotion. It transfers into how you act in the day and how you behave towards the people and things that come your way. And it's coming from a negative source. So is that what you're telling me? Or do you just dismiss it completely? Oh, fuck this thought. No. Distract.
I wouldn't say that I dismiss it completely on those journaling, and I could get better at journaling, but the whole thing about it is I have to make time for it, and the only person who can do that is me. On that sheet that I've even previously written very recently, there's some sad stuff there, but there definitely would be the more majority of how I'm doing personally, and that would be split up into relationship and, I suppose, my own training, and it's just that it's in the minority.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be in the minority of my life, because thoughts are very important, as I've learned, and if you want to be happier, you have to think happier.
It's just choosing to be happy.
Choose to be happier. Yeah. And you choose that, then you put actions into it being better. If you want a better relationship, you have to focus in on it. I didn't for a long time, and now I'm trying to get better at it and making choices along the way. I've made some mistakes and will continue to make mistakes in relationships, both family and personal. And I suppose that's where I'm at.
Yeah. There's also the awareness that if you do ignore those negative emotions or feelings, then it somehow is then expressed in your life, or it comes to the surface in your life, perhaps through relationships, where there's parts of yourself, the shadow or the darkness or the flaws or the insecurities, that you say, no, I don't want to be part of that. But then you go into a relationship, and it's usually in a relationship that we learn so much about ourselves. And all of a sudden, this woman that you're with is exposing all of these vulnerabilities and insecurities and flaws that you had chosen not to address or to pay attention to. However, they're coming out in this relationship, and that's where then you need to step back and take ownership and responsibility and say, oh, fuck, okay. Right, this actually is coming from me, and it's there because I haven't healed it, I haven't processed it, and this pain is now causing the breakdown of this relationship in some way. So where's that coming in terms of it being expressed in an unhealthy way?
It's a really difficult question. And this is the thing, I'd be someone who would say, I'm very comfortable. But even right now, it's in an area. And I suppose that I chose to talk about this because you asked me, and I just went into it, and that's the openness of myself. And I always would say I'm extremely honest and open until I otherwise choose, or someone gives me the opportunity to reason not to.
I appreciate that.
So it gives me, I suppose, my own authenticity. And where do I go from now? From here, right? It's, I suppose, a difficult situation for me because that's my imperfection. My imperfection is my feelings. Yeah.
Okay.
Everything else in my life, I can, and relationships are difficult for me because there's two or more people involved, that can make it more difficult. With fitness, for me, that's very easy. If I choose to get up at a certain time, I can get my meal prep done, or just cook for people like, oh, what's meal prep? Or I choose to do my exercise, which is in my 100% control. If in a relationship, I put in 100%, it's only 50%. And some people say it doesn't always have to be 50%. It should be equal and should be perfect. And I just see it like that, and I'm just telling you how I see it.
Can you explain that to us?
So if I am given 100% to, let's go back to that woman, for example. I gave her 100% of my time, my energy, and flying over to a different country to maybe set up a relationship or to engage in some way for future prospects of going out with that person. And then I gave 100%, and that person gave, we can call it minimal, if not zero, towards me. And as a result of that, then it's something that I lost out.
But she also wasn't willing to take your 100%.
Yeah, and that's fair too. That's why relationships are more difficult when there's two people involved.
Yeah.
Things for me on your own are a little bit easier.
But isn't given 100% in the relationship actually the ability to express your true feelings?
It certainly would. You're asking someone now who's not unbelievable with feelings in relationship all difficult questions. That's what's happening.
Well, it's important. I mean, we're this podcast has been it's out there for a lot of men who would have similar struggles with feelings and emotions in relationships. So this is very real, and this is very common, and this is a place that I know very too well. I'm not putting myself on a pedestal here and say, well, I've got it all fucking sorted out. I know my feelings, and I have no fucking difficulties in the relationship. It's like bullshit, absolute bullshit. I fuck it up, and I continue to fuck it up, but I continue to learn. So, yes, going back to that question, isn't given 100% to a relationship the ability to be honest and transparent with your feelings?
It is, Your Honor. Do you know what I mean? Where do I go from there?
Yeah. Because if she's pissing you off in some way, then you've got to call that out. Or if she's calling you out on your bullshit, which they do so well, especially if she's a good woman, because she wants to call you out on your bullshit, because she wants you to become better, so you can become better for her and better in the relationship. These are all healthy attributes of a relationship, I believe. But if you're not willing to accept that bullshit because it brings up some difficult feelings in you that you don't want to acknowledge or address, then the problems will continue.
I would agree with you.
Yeah,
I would. You are 100% right in saying that. I don't know where and what I can say in on top of that. Yeah, I just find relationships a little bit more difficult than maybe most, but that's me.
Yeah, you're learning
massively
through the relationship.
Yeah. Learning through
this conversation now.
This conversation.
Oh shit!
Don't tell Gavin I'll talk about anything.
Why the fuck did I come here today? No, but it's good. It's helped. It's good stuff. And yeah, we're 45 minutes into this conversation, and we haven't even touched on organic foods yet, which was also a very important topic I want to bring up. So I want to go there. Let's park that. Let's just wipe the sweat off your brow there.
Thank God.
Yeah, take a deep
breath.
Organic foods, all right. So organic foods, in my opinion, gets a lot of criticism and pushback. And there's people out there who will tell you that even though it's organic, it doesn't mean that there's no pesticides added to the fruits and vegetables. So, and some of those pesticides are actually toxic in themselves, although they come from plants or they come from minerals that are from the earth. Why are we getting this wrong?
No, it's a great point, and often people will mention it to me. So just to tell people what the word organic is, it's a registered term. So if you're growing something at home and you ring me, it's like, you're all excited. And I say, oh yes, Gavin is growing. He says, Colman, I'm growing organically. And, I'm growing organic veg, and I've actually been strict on the rules. I go, you're actually not. You can be growing chemical free, but you can't grow in, especially if you're going to sell it, say you're growing organically. So it's a registered term. If you want to grow organically and sell it, you have to be registered with the two Irish governing bodies, which is the likes of the Soil Association, apologies, that's the English one, the Organic Trust, and the likes of IOFCA.
If you want to sell.
If you want to sell it. If you want to sell
it. But if you want to eat.
You can eat it. It's your own then, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can they may come down. Yeah, they won't. But it's just a registered term. I'm just trying to stress that point. It's a registered term. It's a club. And to join it, you have to pay a fee to be part of the Organic Association. And that's something that it takes 2 years to convert over. But to get back to that point of, is there any difference? There's a massive difference. And if you don't trust, some people don't trust those labels, which they can, and say that, that someone down the road, Johnny Murphy's, I've seen Johnny Murphy spraying glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, which is commonly used for dandelions and smaller weeds around your peripheral edges of your garden. There's always going to be outliers, maybe one or two. Not shooting down.
It's also used as a marketing strategy, isn't it? I mean, if you go to the likes of your Aldi or your Duns or wherever you may go, and there's a pack of eggs there, for example. Let's take eggs, for example, because I love eggs.
Me too.
And there's organic label on eggs, and it's potentially €2 more expensive than your free range eggs. Or there's your apples that are organic label on it, and there's your ordinary apples. Like, what is the defining difference between those mass produce products, or am I opening an absolute can of worms here now?
No, it's a great point. And I love talking about this. I'm so glad you kind of brought it up for your listeners and anyone else who's going to watch it or touch base on this exact topic. So let's go to the likes of the apples that are in any of those large discount stores. Okay, they are different, even though they are registered as organic, because they're shipped halfway from Central Europe, for instance. You'd be much better off I always say, either growing your own, because you know exactly what's applied to it, and it shortens the food miles, which is not only beneficial for you, it's also beneficial for the environment. So it's kind of my role to teach people the difference between something that's organic. It can be American organic, it can be Chile organic, it can be Australia organic, and we get delivered here.
Where there's different rules as well.
Very important. There's different rules and regulations, and especially for the likes of America, there are chemicals that are applied. And to go back to that point, there are chemicals that are applied to organics. Okay, but that's why it's really, really important to know the likes of your grower or your farmer. And I love this fact, or more so a statement: try and shake the hand that feeds you. And that's one of the main reasons why myself and Brendan Guinan did that cycle from Donegal all the way to West Cork, highlighting 10 organic and regenerative farms that people could and did come. It was amazing. It was like literally a party at every one of the farms, tasting all of the finest foods that Ireland had to offer that were grown without the likes of harsh chemicals. And that harsh chemical that a lot of people we've touched on is glyphosate, is forbidden in organics, but it's also, so that's something that's well worth noting. If you're buying something with a label, and if you trust the label, which I recommend to people to trust, it does not have glyphosate applied any of the land or the soil around the land that's registered. Okay, that's the first thing. If you're buying from, and you don't have to be organic, there's the next point, this other point, so you don't have to be organic. So if Gavin wanted to most certainly grow his own fruits and vegetables and sell them, you would be selling them as chemical free. But you can tell all the customers, inclusive of me, and I come to you maybe ahead of a different producer that would be registered, but also is allowed to use certain substances. That's where the fight in the pub is happening.
These substances that actually aren't that healthy, because organic has this. If it's organic, it's really healthy. If it's not organic, it's
and that's
poor quality.
That's exactly it. Exactly that point. So you're better to try and know the grower that produces your food, and that's a connection with food that we've totally lost, right? Okay. And that used to be in our grandparents' generation, or maybe our mothers and fathers, depending on who's listening to this podcast. And we used to grow our own fruits, our own vegetables. We used to have hens and ducks and geese, all in our tiny little, and pigs as well, in a backyard, or half an acre, and produce some of our own food. But now I go into, actually, I'm going to do a funny one here now. So, Gavin, this is the second item that comes out of my pocket. It's an onion set. I should actually ask, that would be very funny. What is this? So, this is an onion set. Do you eat onions?
I do.
Okay. Do you know how many onions you will get from putting in one onion set into the ground?
I'd imagine a lot.
He imagines a lot. And he imagines a lot. It's interesting. And for those of you that know the correct answer, isn't that very interesting? So we've lost so much of a connection with our foods that people don't even know where they come from, don't know how many is produced from it. But just to go back to that point, an onion set, you put in one, you get one.
You get one. I should know that. My dad fucking grows onions.
Do you know what I mean? and God, I'm sorry to your dad.
yeah.
And very few people.
He's got a polytunnel that I never visit. So there you go. Yeah, I'll be in there the next day. Go
Amazing. On. Yeah. That's and to me, I only literally came up with that there about a week ago. I was just in a local community growing event, and I just said, "There's an onion set we're talking about," and someone asked me something about organics and similar to this topic. I just said, hold on now for a sec, right? I want you to tell me. They were nearly kind of grilling me with a couple of different questions. I said, I want to ask you one question. How many onions would you get from an onion set? There was no one that got the right answer. In an audience of 50. Right? That's in Ireland. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Green Isles. We have lovely pasture. We have a history of growing food. And as a result of that, we don't know what it looks like even at different stages. And that onion will look completely different. That onion actually grows a big, massive green stalk, which then produces, like I say, photosynthesis, food for itself. It swells out and ends up roughly the size of an apple. Obviously, people would see that because it's the ones they buy in the shop. But you can also eat the onion when it has the green stalk, and it's called a green onion, and that's loads of benefits full of chlorophyll, which people are buying in powders and adding to their smoothies. But if you ate the real food, you'd have all the vitamins and minerals and more, because every vitamin and mineral is found in the soil. There isn't one that's missing.
So where does somebody start if they want to start growing their own food? Because, of course, to a lot of people it goes, effort. Is it worth the effort to grow my own food when I can just pop down to Aldi or Dunn stores, which is 5 minutes down the road, and just, buy organic or buy the food down there? Like, why would you go through the sacrifice of putting in the hardship and the work to grow your own food when it's so conveniently literally at your doorstep?
Because for the example of, if I was to fill this cup with the amount of chemicals that you would have sprayed onto the likes of small amounts and that onion, tiny couple of drops, small amount on your onion, a couple of more drops.
These are organic foods now.
I go on. I suppose the connection to the land would be much more beneficial. I was saying if they buy the 49-cent version, the chemicals will build up, and say it's only a small amount, because that's what the food producers who supply the likes of those large discount stores, they say it's only a small amount. That small amount builds up in your system, causes inflammation. Inflammation is the root cause of so many chronic illnesses, including cancer, which is ripened in so many families, including my own. So it's the idea that it's something that's so beneficial to you. It's anti-inflammatory, organic foods. But if you want to buy your organic ones in the store, that's better. It's all about making improvements. If you want to go one step closer again, you're touching the soil, you're grounding, which again is something that's a de-stressor. People are crying out, and you're paying money elsewhere for counselling, for, I'm going to say, treatments, whatever else in between.
Fair point.
That's a no-brainer.
Your brand new car to help you feel better about your worries and woes and your stresses. Whereas, hang on a second, if I just plant my own fruit and veg and spend a bit more time in the garden.
Everything to do with outside
it's an investment.
is healthy. Sunlight literally regenerates cells.
Why aren't people getting this message?
You could blame social media, because it's actually very hard to make money off healthy people. I would say that. And the idea is it's much easier to sell someone a supplement than it is to sell something to someone that I have tried to sell for €3. A bag of salad, greens, kale, tomatoes, when something similar, but a million miles away to look at, but a million miles away for its nutritional benefits. There's higher antioxidants. Antioxidants reduce stress. You look up every, I'm going to say, health skill cream product that's out there, antioxidant rich. This is written on the back of it. But yet that's found in fruits and vegetables. Most people undereat. As a nutritionist, most people undereat their breakfast, they undereat their lunch, and they binge eat at the end of the day. That's because your overall nutrition is quite low and your body is calling out for it at the end of the day. And we'll reach for whatever's handy. And it's often not fruits or vegetable rich, either in the fridge, in a bowl, or anything else like that. It's biscuits, chocolates, cakes that we overindulge on. And sometimes alcohol that's there too.
Yeah, and then it's the weak foundations that you've accumulated through the choices of the day that then have you crumbling at night.
Yeah.
With your McVitie's crumbles or whatever else it might be. So yeah, there was a question on my mind there and it's escaped me, but I'll bring it back. So, oh yes, that's what it was. Supplementation. All right. So we're often told that, okay, you're not eating enough oily fish, get your fish oils. You're not eating enough green leafy veg, buy your magnesium in a capsule. Are you dismissing supplementation altogether and say, no, that's the wrong route to go? You need to find this through your food more so? Or is there a place for supplementation too in all of this?
The definition of a supplement is to supplement what you cannot get from your diet. That's something that I've taken through my own. I'm not a huge supplement taker myself. I definitely don't take omega-3 fish oil tablets. I have used some magnesium supplements myself, but very rarely. Because you can easily, and actually in my book, you can actually break down how to actually get 300 milligrams, which is your daily recommended amount of magnesium requirement in a day from whole foods. Off the top of my head, it is 100 grams of greens is 20%. So let's say kale. 100 grams of beans, which is easiest serving size at lunchtime. 15 grams, which is a big spoon of hemp seeds, is 2, 4, 6, now around 60. And the last 40% of your daily recommended amount would be cacao. Big spoon of that in a smoothie, in a yogurt. That's your daily recommended amount. That's whole foods. That has the likes of fiber. Fiber is good for your gut health, which gives you more benefits. It's much more pleasant and satiating to share the likes of foods as opposed to I sat down here, Gavin, do you want half this tablet?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just me breaking
It's
it
that
down.
connection piece too, isn't it? Yeah.
Whole foods.
Why is magnesium so important?
It's good for stress, anxiety, and energy levels, which I would have in abundance, and that's because I eat a hell of a lot of whole foods.
Do you think that lack of magnesium is playing a huge factor in people's mental health these
Definitely.
days?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. And not only the magnesium, but also the fiber, which is also found in whole foods.
This is something that's often dismissed, or there's not enough attention placed upon it, how your gut is linked to your brain as well, and how it affects your mental health.
Your gut and your brain are connected through the likes of something that's called the vagus nerve. 90% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. That's your happy hormone. If you physically want to be happier, you eat more whole foods, right? I have a bag of apples in the car. I'm actually going to give Gavin one before we go. It's an organic one. It's actually
I'm going to be fucking buzzing in today. Garlic and onions and apples, yeah.
gut health through the roof for this man.
Yeah.
Gavin will turn into Colman now by next week.
yeah. Eat organic, motherfuckers.
Yeah. But it's real simple stuff. I live a simple life. I have a simple message. And I just want more and more people, if they would literally, I suppose, open their eyes to the best type of foods they possibly can get their hands on. It can be expensive. So it's the whole idea of it. If you don't have enough money to buy your own organic vegetables, I'd highly recommend you to...
What else you got now?
grow your own.
He's got pockets full of stuff here.
There's loads more in there. But inside that...
What are those now?
Those are actually something that your father would know a lot about. Purple top Milan turnips.
Ah,
Purple top Milan turnips, yeah.
Jeez, I haven't had turnips in ages.
Yeah.
Nice.
They have the same antioxidants as blueberries.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are these, this is the turnip? The
turnip.
The orange, that orange thing? Yeah.
No.
Oh, this is purple.
That's purple. Yeah, that's purple.
The
So
purple
it's
one.
the
Jeez,
colour.
I'm so fucking ignorant.
What orange thing do you see? Are you colorblind? There's nothing.
Well, there is the orange turnip, isn't there?
I won't go into too much, but that's actually called a swede. But anyway, that's so. Gavin, we need to get Gavin to one of these grow your own.
Humiliated. Yeah.
Humiliated on my own podcast. We can edit this out, I swear.
This is your payback now for me
Yeah.
pressing you earlier. Yeah.
This is my area of expertise.
Yeah,
Gavin
yeah.
is talking about purple turnips. This man hasn't a Scooby-Doo.
This is a well-balanced conversation, I have to say. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, no, and they're something that grow in Ireland and are able to tolerate the likes of the winter conditions and can grow outside. But if you give it added advantages, purple top Milan turnips, and you can obviously eat the greens because they're from the brassica family in the same field as either broccoli or the likes of kale. So and again, that green is those greens do contain magnesium.
What about someone who doesn't have a lot of space? So there's a lot of people at the moment who live in estates and don't have a lot of space in their garden for growing their own fruit and veg. What's the strategy there?
I love excuses because I have all the answers. Because I have this every day. Come on, I live in an estate.
Yeah.
I have
Well,
this.
this is a
It's the truth.
a real,
It's the truth. Yeah, totally
a
that.
real question. Yeah.
Right? There are allotments available absolutely everywhere in Ireland. Allotment is just an area of ground that would be in a village or town or city that you can literally go to and rent out for, I think most of them would be in around €50 that you can have and upgrade with the likes of a polytunnel that you put in place there. That if you get a polytunnel or a glass house, you will have more food that you can eat. Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Hey, oh my God, that's amazing. That's great. And if you don't know and you're located and you're listening to this in an area in Ireland, you send me a message and I reply to everyone because I do a little bit of work in my spare time.
Just a tiny bit, yeah. Between all your meditation and journaling, yeah, and
monk-like
me
life.
time, yes, yeah.
So yeah, you can send me a message and I'll point you in the right direction of allotment. The next best thing is you can grow in a huge amount in either bags or pots, and there's a basic one for everyone. Like apples are a no-brainer. Whether you live in, I'm going to say, or in your community, setting up the likes of growing an apple tree. You can grow apple trees, and it's this the time of the year in the winter, in the dormant season, you can get an apple tree, and I recommend an M9, which is a small variety of tree, which again produces something that then is a natural prebiotic which feeds your beneficial gut bacteria, which again helps you to be happier and healthier and absorb more vitamins and minerals from the foods that you're eating. This is my area of expertise. I love it. Gavin's like,
he's in the flow now.
I'm on it. And you can plant one of those trees and get up to 100 apples each year when it's fully mature. If you had,
does it require much maintenance?
Very little. Very little. And if you, often people say, Colman, I'm going to say, prune my apple tree. So I'm just taking out my next thing. These are my secateurs. These are my favorite ones. Flexco, there are other
He's
brands.
just taking out a pair of clippers. Are they called clippers now?
They're just called secateurs, just for those people who are into gardening.
Oh,
Yeah,
sake.
with people laughing in the background here because this is comical. This is gold. So that's my secateurs. You don't have to prune it.
Secateurs. Jesus, there you go.
Look at those.
Brilliant. Oh,
They're good.
yeah. I've held them before. I can't even fucking open
I
them.
was just about to say, I know we won't be able to open them. Just a little clip there.
here
He's
we
got
go.
it.
We
He's
got
found
it.
it. This
Yeah.
man, he learns quick.
Christ.
Apprentice.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot here.
So you don't even have to prune it and it will still produce fruits. You can plant it if you live in the country, you can plant it in the ground, do very little to it, it produces fruits. Some of them you need 2 or get a self-pollinating one. As a result of that, literally you have apples every August and I can have them all the way up as far as Christmas, which definitely should be in every school, which I'm actually going into different schools this moment in time, setting them up with that. It's such a simple thing. I'm not into politics. I don't even know who's in charge. Don't ask me about.
Let's not go there.
Let's not go it. I don't go there. Let's not go. And that's a simple thing that people can become more self-sufficient for themselves in foods that haven't been sprayed and they know exactly what's on it. An apple can be sprayed up to 10 times in a growing season, which is a bit stressful, but I don't tell you that to scare you. I share that to inform you.
Okay. Well, amazing. Well, we are out of time, unfortunately. And I really enjoyed this conversation, this well-balanced conversation where I pressed you and you pressed me. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. And I've learned a lot and I think you've learned a lot too. And so, yeah, absolutely love what you're doing here, the mission you're on. And I share I don't share your complete enthusiasm, but I share some of your enthusiasm when it comes to organic foods and healthy foods. Of course, I'm big into healthy foods, but the organic is probably something I need to emphasize a bit more. And I'm taking this information with me and I'm going to be making changes in my life. Thanks to you. So thank you for sharing this with me and with the audience. And for everyone listening or watching, where can they follow you, find out more about you, grab your book? Let us know.
Just, I suppose, as I like things really simple. So everywhere you can reach me is my name. It's just Colman Power. But don't spell it with an E or Ronnie Coleman comes up. So he's a completely different kettle of fish of a man. So my name is Colman, Colman, and then Power, and then Organic Fitness after that. But if you just Google my name, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, or X, whatever you want to call it, the next one. And the book is The Power of Organic Fitness, available on Amazon, and my link in my bio.
Daddy, my man. Thank you so much, Colman.
Thank you.